Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to work on these Shimano M732 thumb shifters, the left and the right. I've already got a video on the M730 and I can't remember if there's much of a difference between the two. So since these ones need to be worked on, I decided I'd make a video on that. So today I'm going to start on the right side, the 7-shifter side. 7-speed shifter with the special 8 click at the end. So let's get started. Like other Shimano shifters, I think the best thing to do is to release the tension in the internal spring, and so you put this to the top. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove that back bolt that's holding the shifter on this body. Put that to the side and we can pop this off. Yeah, there's also a ring on that bolt. So on the back here, there's a screw, tiny little screw. So it's actually inside here and it's holding the plastic cover. So we're going to go into there and remove that. Should be able to lift this up. Be careful when you take this off, as the plastic part underneath here where the screw goes can often get broken. So here you'll see that there's a nut to remove. So to remove this nut, it's a number 10, and you undo that clockwise. So underneath here there's a type of washer that holds the nut in place. Underneath here there is a plate, and underneath that plate, and it's perfectly in the perfectly sitting on top of the other one, is another plate. I'm guessing this is the part that you feel when you're going from index to friction. So take that off. There's the actual lever that we're going to remove. Now next there are two small ball bearings. We're going to go ahead and start removing this next plate. Okay, so remove that. Okay, here you can take off this type of seal. Okay, I've got it off. I put it back in the body and it's pretty much undone the spring, which is probably it's tensioned in a certain way. So we can now lift that out. So now there's a spring here that we can pop off. So now we can kind of like just let go here. It's coming off. Underneath this there is some kind of washer bushing, and that groove was sitting on top of these tiny ball bearings. There's another type of bushing with a groove inside it. Appears to be a copper washer that's underneath it. And okay, I think that's everything. Right, cool. So put that all on the side. Finally, we've disassembled everything. It's pretty quick and simple. Putting it back isn't always the case. I'm going to now wipe down everything. We're going to then after apply some new grease, and then we can get on to the steps of the rebuild. Right, so we've got to the stage of the rebuild. In the meantime, I have polished the main body, so it's a little bit more shinier than before. So we're going to get started now on rebuilding this thumb shifter. I would suggest that we use some Teflon grease for this. Right, so on the back here, before I had not shown this type of rubber seal. It fell out when I was cleaning, so we're going to put that back in. There's also a kind of copper kind of bushing washer that sits in the back as well. Now you'll notice on the interior there's a type of a ridge that's acting as a stopper, and on the main pivot part there's also a kind of stopper. Now that's going to determine where we're going to put this in now. we're going to take the spring, and there's two holes here. I'm going to put it on the furthest one. That's going to probably give it slightly more tension, so on the left. Now once that's comfortably in place, if you think about where the spring can go, when you're going to tension it, it's going to be going anti-clockwise. So wherever you're going to put this stopper, you don't want it to be stopped, you need it to be able to move. And so for that to happen, you're going to want to have that stopper, which is there, this part, to sit. It's going to go on the left here if I'm holding the shifter up this way. So now I'm going to put that in. Without the top here yet, this should be able to turn, if you follow, anti-clockwise. And if you compare another one I've got, you can clearly see this is the right position that we need to put this in. Okay, so now you've done that, we can put the ball bearings back in. So you have the first one, which is the round one, and it has a slight groove inside it for the bearings. So I'm going to put that first on the top. Then you have the bearings yourself. Now this is definitely the moment to put a tiny bit of grease on these. And so we're going to now put that on the top there. And finally a type of star-shaped one that goes there. Okay, so now we're going to take this part, and you'll see that there's just one hole inside right there, and that's going to be for the other tip of the spring. And you'll also notice underneath that there are 4 kind of teeth, 2 smaller ones and 2 large ones. So in my position, the 2 smaller ones are on the top and the bottom, and then the large ones left and right. And you'll notice this kind of all slots into place. So we're going to do that now. Okay, so now we need to put this ring on. Now if you look very closely, you will see that there's one part that's flat and one part that's slightly grooved in, and we want to put the part that's kind of grooved in on the top. So we're going to pretty much slot it in. There's like two notches here. You want to make sure that goes into those 2 notches. Simple. Now for the next plate, it's now going to sit where there was the kind of groove on this one, and this one's also kind of just slightly grooved. And here's flat-sided, so we obviously want to put the grooved part into the contact with the other ring that's grooved. Alright, so now we're going to put the ball bearings on, and if you turn this slightly, you'll see that on the left, the first thing you'll see is the top of the spring that's sticking out. And then the next hole is essentially going to be the first gear, and where we're going to put these ball bearings. And it will be on the same on the other side. So we're going to just put them on top for now, as we can't actually do anything, as the spring's still tensioning towards going up. We can pretty much put this lever on for now as well. So for the next part, there was this, and this part, there was a kind of a spacer that was underneath it. I'm guessing that kind of slots in the gap at the bottom here. Acting more like a bush, I guess, bushing. So now we've done that, we can put this one on the top. This seems to kind of sit in the middle. Okay, so next are these 2 plates. These were quite sticky when I was cleaning them. I'm guessing there should be quite a bit of grease on this, because it seems to be a part that's got a lot of friction. So I'm going to go ahead and put some on both sides. Okay, so you'll notice that on here there's one part that's sticking up and the other part is going down. So first we're going to put these on top of each other. They pretty much slot into each other. Now I'd imagine that those 2 gaps you see on the left and the right are supposed to be for the ball bearings. So when we're going to put this back in, we want it to be this way. So this part here is kind of going up and going over those 2 plates on both sides. Now we're going to put the we're now going to be able to put the nut back on. So I'm going to tighten this down and we're going to be able to find out if this has worked. It seems to work. And if I wanted to go into friction, I'm guessing it's like that. Okay, yeah. So it looks like that's working. It's actually really nice and smooth now compared to before, way better. So you want to play around with that nut until you kind of get this to kind of click how you want it to be. So now we're going to undo this again. Okay, push that down. Tighten up that screw. Okay, so we're about to reinstall that. So put the bolt back on. I hope this helped you rebuild and service your Shimano M732 thumb shifter. Thank you for listening and stay tuned for the second part of the rebuild. Peace out.